little bit of a long story. I graduated from college in Vermont in 1991. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do for a living, and I was honestly pretty afraid of just committing to something that I wasn't really passionate about, and then waking up when I was 60 years old, ready for retirement, saying, what did I just do with the last 40 years of my life? I bought a van, drove out west, and ended up working carpentry for a year, then back of the house restaurant jobs for a year. I like working with my hands. I like being active and on my feet. So I did that for 2 years and then really wanted to get back to New England. I ended up going back to Vermont. The day I got there, I called a friend of mine and just said, Ian, I just got back to Vermont. I need a job just to pay the bills. He said he was working in a local brewery and his boss literally that day had said that he needed a part-time keg washer. And I always liked drinking beer. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about making beer. I had never set foot in a brewery in my life. I remember it like it was yesterday, walking in a brewery for the first time. And it was kind of like everything I loved in one package. I love working with my hands. Everyone in there, and there weren't many people, but they're all working with their hands. They're stirring tanks of things, which I didn't know what it was at the time because I'd never been in a brewery, but there's steam coming out of it. There's machines on the bottling line making a lot of noise, pumps everywhere, pipes. I was just falling in love with everything that I saw. And within 2 days, I knew I was going to make beer for the rest of my life. I asked my boss who ran the brewery if there were any books on brewing that I could read up on, educate myself, just learn as much as I could. And I would literally work all day, then get home, have dinner, have a couple beers, and then read till I couldn't keep my eyes open at night. I spent 1 year working at Otter Creek Brewing in Middlebury, Vermont, and decided it was time for me to go out on my own. I knew that there was a lot I needed to learn about making beer. So I really felt that it would be very important for me to keep the business just as simple as possible getting going. So my plan was to start alone with no employees, make one beer, draft only, and just sell it in a local market and not self-distribute it. Really what I was trying to do is give people a unique experience with beer. I wanted to make a beer that looked different. I wanted to make a beer that tastes different, that had different unique aromas, something that people really had never tried before. And I was particularly drawn to the Belgian wheat beer style, which the Belgians call white beer. It's called white beer because it's got that nice, elegant white veil to it. It's a very balanced, complex, sessionable, drinkable beer. So really I was drawn to Belgian style wheat beer because it was both refreshing and sessionable, but very, very unique. The universal reaction was, what's wrong with it? I used to walk into accounts with a jug of beer that I had poured from the fermentation tank, pour it in a clear glass for the decision maker, maybe the bar owner or the bar manager, and they immediately saw it was cloudy. And no one had seen, or very few people had seen, cloudy beers back then. So the first thing they said is, what's wrong with it? They'd taste it and smell it, and they said, why does it look like that? Why does it taste like that? And if I was lucky, they would say, I'll put it on, but it's not gonna sell. And indeed, it didn't sell. I think I kept a lot of accounts back then in the Portland area just by stopping by and having a beer every few days. And competitors, they knew it wasn't selling. They'd go in and say, hey, how's the Allagash tap doing? Knowing it wasn't doing well. And usually the manager would say, it's not doing great. It's my worst selling handle, but the guy's in here all the time drinking his beer, so I can't take it off. But I knew I had succeeded out of the gates making something that was really, really unique, but I couldn't give it away. So a lot of my first 10 years, which I expected to spend brewing beer, fixing pumps on the weekend, welding, a lot of those first 10 years, I ended up unexpectedly on the road selling beer, explaining what this beer was all about, why it looked like that, why it tasted like that. But after 10 or so years, by 2005, things did start to grow.
lots of craft breweries in the U.S. were kind of, I guess, if they were to be focused on particular country styles, it would have been, England with pale ales, IPAs, and certainly places like Germany, right? And there wasn't as much going on in the Belgian beer tradition. And the Belgian beer tradition is just this wonderful, combination of embrace of traditional styles like white beer, Trappist style beers, but also this totally wide open canvas, all ingredients are welcomed, barrels are used, spices, weird yeasts, etc. And so it's just, wide range of things you can do, but we very much embraced that. Allagash White kind of has this wonderful ability to reach a broad spectrum of people. We talk to people all the time who tell us that they don't drink beer. The only beer they drink is Allagash White. I don't like the craft beer. I like Allagash White. So there's that component of people, but there's also a kind of a deep, rich history to the style of beer that is the white beer, Belgian white beer style. It's a very technical beer to make. And so if you're a beer geeky person who really appreciates the history of beer and the nuances of flavor that are in that beer, you can also enjoy it. I think the nice thing about the Belgian tradition, which we've embraced, is this just kind of no rules, wide open. And so it's been pretty easy to embrace new beers. One of the second beers we did was a Trappist style double, and then we did a Trappist style triple, which still today is one of our core beers, our Allagash triple. And so for the first 10 years or so, that was kind of what we did. Still a very simple lineup of beers. Fast forward to today, we're doing all sorts of fun stuff. We also have really cool internal innovation program here where all staff members are encouraged, and they do submit ideas to this pilot team basically. And what that does is that it allows us to kind of tap into the creative power of the entire company instead of just someone like me or our R&D brewer or Rob and just stopping there. It's very much an entire company approach.
So when we're sitting down to talk about any brand that we're going to partner with, we really try to isolate the ethos of the brands to kind of propel them into a more priority position in our stores, more programs. And when we sit down to decide who those brands are going to be, there's a lot of questions we ask around what makes you different, what makes you special. Allagash has always had a really special place in my heart. There's something about them in terms of their ethos that you can kind of feel in their product and in their branding. When you start digging into their story, it really becomes apparent why that is. Their founder, Rob, is kind of one of a kind. He's part of the second generation craft movement from the 90s. Their beer is very unique and special in terms of style. So it has to do with the product, it has to do with the people, and then it has to do with their partnership.
Working here, people often ask me what's kept you here this long and why do you love working here? And it's, well, as cliche as it is, it's totally the people that surround here. We have this really wonderful kind of mix of really passionate people who just, don't take themselves all that seriously, but really care very deeply about what we do here. And that could be very deeply about their specific job or very deeply about what the company does as a whole, how we embrace community here and so on. And so just every day just is engaging to come to work because I'm just surrounded by people who are just so psyched about what we're doing here.
Allagash stands on their own as a really beautiful craft story that's still family owned. They're B Corp certified. They have a lot of initiatives that we just love and support, and we're just so proud to have worked with them all these years.
So we have this saying here at Allagash, we're good together. And it means a lot of different things, but if I were to think of one way to look at it, I would say the more beer we sell, the more good we can do. The more beer we sell, the more we grow. The more employees we have that can volunteer in the community, which we compensate them for. The more we can grow our philanthropy program, the more Maine-grown we can buy. So really, as more retailers like Whole Foods believe in our beer and support our beer, the more customers that believe in our beer and support our beer, the more we're going to grow and the more good we can do. And we really are. We're good together. Allagash and Whole Foods is good together. Allagash and our customer who's buying our beer at retail, we're good together, and we're all collectively making a difference.